Hello, and welcome to Who Knew, a Doctor Who podcast. We're back again. My name, as always, is Josh Carr. I am your host. And I've got another brilliant guest with me today. And I'm very, very excited about this one. And I know a lot of you are as well. We have the marvellous Jimmy Mann. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you doing on this gorgeously? I mean, look outside. It's a gorgeous, bright, sunny day.
Is it bright and sunny where you are?
I mean, it is here, but you know, we're probably in different time zones, different times, different centuries.
Different time periods. Because it's incredibly grey, but I'll take it. I mean, I'm not leaving the house. No one's leaving the house, so we're fine. It's lovely to have you on.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Yes. And I mean, we'll start where we always start, right at the very beginning. So you told me you've been a Whovian since you were an ickle babber.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So where did it all start? Was it through family? Was it 2005 when it kicked off, or where was the beginning for you?
Right. So I grew up in the the dark times, the time of chaos,
Yes.
all of those terrible moments. And my brother is a huge Doctor Who fan. So he's 11 years older than me. So he was getting the videos when they were coming out in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
He got the videos. So he got that incredible Revenge of the Cybermen video, the Robots of Death, and Death to the Daleks. And I think, was the Five Doctors part of that as well? I can't quite remember. It's a fuzzy time. So that first set of videos that were so expensive, he got them. And Spearhead from Space. How can I miss that one? Because that's classic. My earliest. It's such a classic, and it's my earliest memory of Doctor Who. So I was watching those. So I know the lady should never tell her age, but I was born in 87. So just as is that when the latest Blu-ray season? That is 23? That's
season
the
24.
Year.
Season 24.
Season. A Time in the Rani.
Yeah. It
so
must have been
born around Time in the Rani. Yeah. So isn't that funny? There we go. Well, that's something else that we'll talk about as well later on. I love the Blu-rays. But what was I saying? So my biggest memory, earliest memories of watching those videos. I can't actually remember watching them with my brother, but I remember being absolutely terrified. The thing is, I used to watch those videos and the subsequent ones that came much later on. I used to watch them religiously. Evenings, mornings, daytime, I'd watch them constantly. I'm amazed they still exist in my brother's collection. That's Doctor Who for me. And they then started releasing all the videos with the diamond logo and the lovely drawn covers. They're gorgeous. It's kind of a shame that we don't really get them anymore, but as in they're not, they're not. Although saying that, we've got the lovely work of like Lee binding, all that kind of stuff, which is incredible.
Oh, but, God, yeah. And those Blu-rays and the steelbooks as well. God, I love the steelbooks.
The steelbooks,
they're so nice. I've got a big stack of them right next to me. They're lovely.
Sorry, Cam.
No. I was just going to say. So you had a bit of a similar experience to our previous guest, Billy Garrett John, the wonderful man that is, and so. You would have been. I'm doing some quick maths here. So we're talking around about 17, 18 when Who came back.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that like? I bet that was exciting for you?
It was very surreal because, as Billy said before in the previous episode, you were a anomaly at school, and you were this kind of strange character that liked this ye olde TV show that was on such a long time ago that only really, weirdos and geeks like. And then suddenly, I was walking down my my road, the road that I lived on in my hometown, and at the end of the road, as it go into town, above this corner shop, there was always a billboard that had whatever whatever was being advertised at the time. And I walked down the road, and there's this gigantic poster, and it's at that moment when I looked up at this poster and saw the TARDIS doors open with Billy and Chris standing there, with Doctor Who coming soon. That was the moment that I thought, my life will never be the same ever again. I thought it would.
Yes.
It's just absolutely insane. This little show that I loved and that I, used to kind of dress up as and have the figures in my little Dapol figures in the garden. I used to make little set pieces out of things and put sparklers and stuff so they'd blow up. All this little stuff that I used to do as a kid that I kind of tried to stop doing in my kind of teens is now on a billboard at the side of, and it's that picture. I mean,
I know the one you're talking about. Yeah, it's
but
the
also
light
the doors
with the TARDIS doors and both of them stood in front. Yeah, I know exactly the picture you're talking about.
And it's also bizarre because the doors open outwards, but I don't care. I don't care at all.
Oh, I don't care either.
No, it's such a good image, and they look beautiful. It's just like full on like fashion and just everything. It's an explosion. And it was so exciting. And I think it's now time that I then go on to the next thing, which I think every single episode that you've had on, someone has mentioned the trailer, the
Everyone
season 1 trailer.
The trailer. It is a pivotal moment in so many people's lives, because you were either like you and Billy and people like that. You were either fans who then got to see, the Doctor and the Companion and the TARDIS on screen for the first time, in decades, or you were like me, who this fat little child who had no idea what Doctor Who was and was just mesmerized by this trailer. And it just seems to be like a turning point. That trailer in particular just seems to be a turning point in so many people's lives. It was either you're in or you're out.
Yeah,
at that point.
Russell T is the I'm saying this from absolute fond memories. A lot of people don't necessarily like JNT, but I'm going to say that Russell T is the JNT of the new series, in as much as he knew. Although saying that, I completely roll that back, because also like Russell T knew what JNT and has learnt from JNT, and
of course.
anyway, but like the whole branding, the image, the look, the colors, the tech, everything had been, obviously nowadays you have everything, you have branding kits and you have all these press kits and stuff, but it was the fact that all of that was being applied to Doctor Who now was so exciting. With that, again, the pitch down version of the Doctor Who theme, which was a choice. I don't know why, but it's such a choice. And just great with the slow motion running. I mean, that was when I thought this is really going to change everything. However, I didn't see Rose live after all that.
Didn't you?
No. After all that,
what happened there then?
I was invited to a mate's party, and I was 17.
Well, you were 18 at the time. You were 17, 18. You were rocking about the place.
Yeah, and I knew that so stupid. On my way back home in the morning, because I stayed over there, I slept on my bundled up coat, and I don't drink that much, but I drank quite a lot that evening, because you do when you're that age. And I went to sleep knowing full well that the world was going to change. And as I walked back home in the early hours of the morning, I say early hours of the morning, like 6 o'clock or whatever, I knew. I looked around and I was like, this is a world where Doctor Who exists. It's new Who, and I'm here and I haven't seen it yet. It was quite exciting.
I can imagine. And just a little side note, I think one of my favorite times to watch Doctor Who is hungover on a Sunday early afternoon. I think it's peak Who time. It's
Absolutely.
like when you're laying in bed, you have nowhere to go, you feel like death, and the only thing that can cure you is like watching The Unicorn and the Wasp, just drinking tea and just getting all comfy, curtains closed. What a time to be alive that is. Another thing that you touched on there that I just wanted to go back to, because I have an update for the listeners, and oh boy, is it an update! We had this watch through. So I've been watching classic Doctor Who from the beginning for the very first time. I started in March last year with An Unearthly Child, and then I got stuck on Terminus for about 2 months. I don't know why. I couldn't get through it. I couldn't get through it.
It's a difficult place to leave, isn't it?
I had a few sticking points, and I'd just get a bit lodged, and I'd need a little break, because classic Who can be a bit intense.
It can be. Was it Nissa's story coming to an end that might have made you feel?
It broke my heart.
You can't go any further because of that. I can see that. I can understand. She's lovely.
I'm not the only Josh in the Doctor Who community who's obsessed with Nissa. It's me. It's Josh Snares. We all love Nissa.
She is a queen. She is a queen.
Better.
Oh, she's
a queen. Well, she deserved better.
Yeah, but to put it this way, the thing about classic Who is that there's always something. There's always something else to be told. And therefore, that's when my other absolute passion, it really comes into its own with Big Finish.
Oh, here we go. Yes,
you need to get on. You need to get on it.
Well, let's get to this update, because clutch your jewelry, people. I have finished classic Doctor Who. Last night I watched Survival, and I had a little cry at the end. It's emotional. It's an emotional ending.
It is such an emotional ending.
Him and Ace on the hill. It's a lovely ending. But I'm there. So now we all know what's coming. Like you said, it's Big Finish time.
Well,
I've got a few little things in between. Little things in between that I want to cover. I want to go back to the TV movie.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while. It's been years since I've watched that. And another confession here. I've never seen Dimensions in Time. I know. The absolute horror show that is supposedly. I've seen a lot of clips, but I've never sat and watched Dimensions in Time. So that is going to be my closing. It's going to be my closing ceremony.
It is canon.
Classic Who.
It exists. It's canon. It's there.
Yes. Let's canonize it.
It's everything. It's the moment. It is everything. It is the pinnacle of Doctor Who. It is
the pinnacle of Doctor Who.
It is the pinnacle of Doctor Who.
Is quite the statement from what I've seen of it.
Because it's just everything. It is.
I mean, I mean, if the brig's there, I'm there. That's my motto in life. If the brig is there,
it's
I'm there.
3D. It's everything you could possibly imagine is in there.
I've got some 3D glasses. Can you get the 3D version online? I'm not watching in 3D. I've got some Tennant-esque 3D glasses right here in front of me.
That might be. I wonder if there is a version of that, because
the old lenticulars. I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to watch it in 3D. We've gone on a sidetrack here. But
we have. I
love it. Go on.
No, I was just saying. I remember Dimensions of Time coming out, and my brother, yet again, shout out to Richard Mann. Hey, how you doing? My brother comes up a lot in my life, not just my life as well as my life in Doctor Who. Obviously, because he's my brother, but we're very close as well.
Yes, yeah.
He records it off of the TV. We got the video. He's still got the video and still got 2 of the glasses in there as well. And
nice.
It was. That was a moment. That was a moment in time. That was a moment of Doctor Who culture. Was sitting watching Noel's house party, and who turns up? The Doctor, John Pertwee, suavely walking in, and like it is everything. It's on YouTube, so go and check that out. That was one of the things.
I'm going to watch it.
I think that was one of the things that I sat down. And yet again, side note, I've been showing my husband lots of Doctor Who, including Dimensions in Time, including the TV movie, including The Curse of Fatal Death, which is
nice.
I mean, it's
a classic.
It's actually so good. It is so good.
It's so funny.
Anyway,
I love force feeding. I love how it's another recurring theme that, force feeding partners. Doctor Who is a common thread as well. If you're marrying me, you're marrying the show. You're marrying absolutely. Both of us, 100%. So let's move on, because you've got this little Jimmy watching Doctor Who on his VHSs, and then you've got medium Jimmy, 18-year-old watching New Who for the first time, very exciting. And then fast forward about 10 years or so to the Capaldi era, and you're essentially you're working on Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So for anyone at home that doesn't know the kind of work that you do and your involvement in Doctor Who, just give us like a brief rundown on your involvement and how that is and what you do for a living, because it's so interesting to me. I love talking about stuff like this.
Okay, well, I work in the TV and film industry. I am a creature effects prosthetics technician and a props maker as well. And the reason why
a couple of great job titles there. Job titles.
The reason why they're so wide, and if anyone who's like follow Classic Who as well, the reason why everything's so wide is that sometimes it just things get passed to different departments. And a lot of my skills that I have, and that everyone within the industry, are fairly transferable dependent on where you go. So I've worked in costume props, in prosthetics and straight makeup, in creature effects makeup, creature effects suits, all those kind of things. And I worked at Millennium FX, which was a huge moment in my life. And at some point I was mold making something, and it was for Doctor Who, and that was the start of it, really. I mean, I always knew that obviously I've been a huge fan of Millennium, but I was that was that really. I was working on
well, it's incredible, like, because like you said, obviously, things get passed from department to department, but that means that you've just got so many things that you've done, which is so cool. So, I mean, one thing in particular that amazed me. So you worked on the Mondasian Cybermen, is that right? For World Enough and Time and Doctor Falls. So that must have been a moment. Like that must have been cool.
Yeah.
But obviously, I know that for you, it's how much of it is like this is work. Like it is still work to you. Like it's hard work, and obviously, I know that you can't really get too wrapped up in that whole wow, I'm working on Doctor Who kind of thing while you're in the midst of it. So this question is getting away from me a bit, but but yeah, I mean, what was it actually like for you? Was it a bit overwhelming to be working on Doctor Who? Was it exciting? Was it nerve-wracking, or was it all of the above?
I mean, obviously, it is all of the above. So I'll give you a quick kind of potted history of how I got to the Cybermen and
that'd be great,
working there.
Because the Cybermen is near the end of your time working on Doctor Who. Is that right?
Yeah. So when I work in any of these things, you're there sometimes working for a week, a day, a month, 3 years, and I had my kind of professional journey was very crazy. This is also to people out there who might necessarily not know what they're going to do with their lives, but kind of want to do something in maybe the film kind of area. It's a lot of work to get there, but you really need to put you kind of need to throw yourself into it. There's no half, and you can't kind of half-ass get into this. You kind of really need to throw yourself into it. And I was doing like kind of rubbish jobs in my hometown. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was lucky enough that one of my tutors at college, because at university, I took film production at university. One of my tutors, his wife, worked on Harry Potter, and I got some work experience on Harry Potter for a couple of weeks on the last 2 Harry Potter films. They were filming and making everything all at the same time. So it's all shot at the same time. So I think I was there for various bits and bobs. So I was working I was at work experience at Leavesden for a while, and I got to know, shout out to Paula Eden, love you, babe. And I was working with her, and that was when I was 21, 22, and I was there for a couple of days, and then I went back to university and thought, oh, I don't want to do any of this anymore. I want to be there. Anyway, a couple of years later, I decided to change my luck. I thought I'd change my luck. I've got to get into that area. So I spoke to Paula, and she said, you want to get into creative stuff, you want to get into props and costume and prosthetics. How about you do a prosthetics course? And the prosthetics course that she mentioned is the Neil Gorton prosthetics course, which is at that time it was at Millennium FX, because Neil Gorton's course is at Millennium. Neil Gorton was the guy who headed up Millennium during the first 5 or 6 years of Doctor Who, on all those original documentaries or little, totally Doctor Who things when they go and speak to creature makers. It's nearly always Neil Gorton doing it. Anyway, so I was able to get onto the course with a portfolio, and when I was on the course, this is a little bit of time later, that was a massive thrill, being at Millennium.
I bet.
Albeit in a different part of the workshop. And when I was there, they were getting the suits ready to go and take the quotation marks modern Cybermen out to some pools to do the Cybermen coming out of St Paul's Cathedral and coming not down those stairs. There's no stairs there anymore.
In Dark Water, Death in Heaven. Is that's the one?
Yeah. So I got to see all these bits of Cybermen and all of these kind of Iron Man, Cyberman-esque pieces, and that was a thrill. And then I saw them come back, and then I spoke to some of the people that were there, and they had hours of problems with those because it was such a hot day, and they were standing outside for hours. Bless them. Anyway, so that was that. Skip forward. I'd worked a couple of different films, a couple of different series, and I'd worked on Star Wars. I went off to do Star Wars and Rogue One, and I think even Last Jedi was straight after that, or something or other. Was that? Yeah. And then a couple of other things, and then I called up Millennium and said, "Hey, I was on the course a couple of years ago, and I'm looking for work. I've just finished working on, I think I was working on The Mummy or something or other, that film with Tom Cruise."
Yeah.
Let's not go there. And she said, I can't remember who it was that I spoke to, and she said, "Great, we're starting on Class, the Doctor Who spin-off. And can you start on this day?" Well, and then I started I went there straight after I was on The Mummy, and then I was pretty much there through Class and loads of other stuff, and then I was through Doctor Who, and then so all I'm trying to say, I kind of went off on one there.
No. It's all so interesting. Like hearing you, like that journey of, your, because I'm like people like me. I'm probably in a similar position where I'm, working like pretty normal, pretty boring jobs. So to then go from that to work experience on Harry Potter to, then putting the work in, going in on that course, and then ending up on things like Star Wars, like that's insane.
Yeah.
Like it's so cool to see that journey over a relatively short amount of time as well. Like in the grand scheme of things, obviously I know that it's hard work and it's a lot of graft, but in terms of going from, starting a course to working on Star Wars and Doctor Who, like in the grand scheme of things, it seems like quite a short amount of time, like that you managed to get there, which is a testament to you, obviously in your work. So yeah, sorry, carry on about
no.
So you started working on Class, which I've not actually seen Class yet. That's another thing that I need to cover.
I've not seen it since it came out, and I admittedly I feel, I mean, yet again, this is a Class sidebar. I feel like it had a lot of potential. It just needed that second series to work out what it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard a lot.
Because we really enjoyed the kind of creature effects and the creatures there, and it was great because finally within the Doctor universe we could have some quite gory effects. That some of them were cut back a bit. I remember there was a couple of things that they decided not to show or to take away some of the blood, but like there was a lot of scope there. And it was such a shame that it only got one series because even though it wasn't quite there, I feel like it needed that pinnacle second season to tighten, because everyone learns from the first season. I mean, if even you look at
of course
2005 Doctor Who, everyone's learnt from that season. Everyone understands a bit more about the process. But yeah, Class. So that came in, and that was that was a bit of time. I think it was put back a little bit. So I was at Millennium doing a few other things, and then the Class started to come in. And there were Tentacles, and there was the Shadowkin, which was such a great race of aliens and beings and beings of war and rocks and things. It was such a great thing to make, and it was so fun to make. But I was at the workshop. I was in when you start somewhere and you're starting out, then you usually start in the mold shop, which is making all the molds, making all the, you're molding all the sculpts, and you're casting out things. So that's what I was mainly doing there. That's what I mainly did at Star Wars as well. And then so I was in the mold shop, and I was seeing the Shadowkin coming in, seeing all these really exciting pieces, and then we started stuff on Doctor Who as well, like the emoji bots. We got this emoji bot sculpt in, and we're making all those pieces, and then we got some time to fix up the Ice Warrior suit from Thin Ice. No, sorry, not from Thin Ice. What am I talking about?
From Cold War.
Cold War, yeah. Thin Ice. What an idiot. From Cold.
No,
hang on.
Similar, it's very similar.
Isn't Thin Ice also a name of a New Adventures novel? Or is that something like Frozen Time? No. No, anyway, it doesn't matter.
No, I think there is. I think you're right. I think you are right. I think there is. I think there's something called Thin Ice.
But isn't there sure. And the covers are. I bet the listeners are screaming it out. There's a Cyberman hand. Anyway, never mind. But yeah, something like that. So yeah, but we decided to make new new suits for the Ice Warriors, because the one that we got given to fix up was the one from the Experience, and the Doctor Who Experience had unfortunately he'd been put up against the side underneath the entire building was hilarious because it was basically a gigantic oven. Because of how it was built. It was only supposed to be up for a couple of years, I think, and then obviously Doctor Who became even bigger than it could possibly be, and then so unfortunately it was a giant oven, and it all kind of crumpled in on itself.
That's a shame.
Yeah, so it's such a shame, but never mind. So we were able to we got the molds back and we recast them, although here's another sidebar. The helmet that Friday is wearing, Friday, who's the main kind of Ice Warrior protagonist / antagonist, from the Empress of Mars, that is the helmet from Cold War that we repurposed and smashed out the eye and put in a piece in there as well. I think he's got a scrape or something on him. So that was that original. Original helmet.
Oh, that's really cool. It's cool to hear like the recycling element of, it's cool because when you see it on screen, it just looks astounding. Oh, it just looks so good. And those Ice Warriors, one of the best realizations of classic monsters in New Who.
Yeah,
they look incredible. But yeah, seeing like sometimes that amazing work can come from cobbled together bits from the Doctor Who Experience and old episodes, and it must be. Is there a lot of improvisation? May not be the correct word, but is it a case where? Yeah, that's what I thought. Like it's because I imagine that things don't always go to plan in the workshop.
I think the main thing to like consider when it comes to something like Doctor Who is that the Doctor Who is a BBC show. The BBC doesn't have really a huge amount of money. I mean, obviously this is a difficult subject to talk about in these times because a lot of people don't necessarily like the BBC or whatever it is, but they're trying to create a Hollywood-sized film on on like a BBC drama budget, like the same budget that other BBC shows. I mean, I can't even think about a BBC show at the moment.
Yeah, like EastEnders and stuff like that.
Yeah, like
on, yeah.
Absolutely. EastEnders have got a budget. Obviously, we're talking about different timescales and everything like that. But they're working on a minuscule budget and having to create a Hollywood film every single week, because you've got Game of Thrones, that, although that's that's a couple of years old now, but you've got Game of Thrones out there. You've got all the you've got Star Wars films, Marvel, DC universes, and then you've got this little television show, Docky Who, that comes out with a couple of aliens every week, and it's having to go up in a fight up against those shows.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you talk about it like that, it's astounding that it's even able to compete. Like, with
completely,
because there's TV shows now that are on like millions and millions and millions of pounds per episode.
Yeah,
and Doctor Who, like, you see like the low budget scripts that have ended up being some absolute gold, like some of the greatest bits of not even just Doctor Who, some of the greatest episodes of British TV ever. Like, you look at something like Midnight, which at the end of the day, obviously you're paying for David Tennant in the height of his powers, but in
the height of his powers, David Tennant in the height of his powers.
Yes, but you've got
the hair,
quite a limited cast.
All of his powers in the hair.
The bigger the hair, the more money you pay.
Yeah.
That with the long hair now, he's a fortune.
I can't even imagine.
Yes, but yeah, like, you've got a limited cast. You've got David Tennant in essentially a bus. It's David Tennant and like 5 or 6 other people in a bus, and it is absolute gold. So the fact that they can do stuff like that on that budget is astounding. Again, we've gone on another little side.
It's fine.
It's so interesting. Like,
I mean, going back to Midnight though, that's a incredible concept. I mean, it's also Oscar-winning performances. I mean, look at everyone and what they do, and they've got a couple of weeks to make something like that as well. But the great thing about it is that it's so clever for the production team to commission as you say, a couple of actors in a bus, because then all the rest of the going back to budget, all the rest of the budget that would go on something, which has 12 different sets and creatures and all that kind of stuff, all of that budget can then get spent over the rest of it, so they can put in the budget in different areas, which is great. So the idea that you've got what is it, something like 6 actors, 1 room, you then have scope to do all of your storytelling, all your incredible storytelling, and then later on in other shows you can then spend a bit more money on that alien or that set piece.
So it's a knock-on effect where you have a low budget episode like that, then gives people like you working at Millennium a little bit more, slightly more wiggle room on other episodes, which is, it's so cool. Series 10 gone.
I mean, just so on that note, actually on that note, what I was about to say, yes, so bringing it back to series 10, when we were told about the Cybermen and the fact that it's not just the Mondasian Cybermen, which were all obviously completely new, we had to they decided to have the RTD Cybermen and the modern Cybermen. They were just the names of the different ones. What am I trying to say? So those suits of the RTD Cybermen were not the original suits from Age of Steel and all that stuff, because all of those suits were originally fiberglass, a really heavy piece of fiberglass. When the modern Cybermen came around, they decided to make it all in this urethane rubber that's all sprayed silver, and it's incredibly difficult process that I could, it's really incredible. It's incredible, really difficult. And so that's what those ones are made out of. And then they did the world, I think it was the world tour, the Symphonic Spectacular. They did a world tour. They had Cybermen in different countries. They had the show in London as well, and all of those suits, the RTD suits, they were all this urethane stuff as well. So they were all remade. I've got myself into a real pickle there. So they were all remade in the same process as the modern Cybermen.
The modern ones,
they're not fiberglass anymore because they're really difficult to wear. They're so heavy, whereas the urethane ones are a lot lighter, a lot nicer to get on with. However, nothing sticks to it, so it's really difficult. Things like catches and stuff pop off all the time, just because everyone's moving in them and it's all kind of all over the place. So we were reusing all of the suits from the Symphonic Spectaculars and all those kind of stuff, because they were such great suits. But it's interesting because they're different. They're basically BBC. What is it? BBC Worldwide, I think. So a different company now owns them because it's not BBC television or BBC drama. It's BBC. It's not worldwide, but it's something like that. So it's interesting that you have to kind of pull in these different pieces from different areas, and kind of reuse stuff. And remind me about reusing things, because I've got an interesting thing about I'll get onto it now. But did you want to speak about the Mondasians side?
Go.
So
go ahead.
Everything was filmed kind of out of, it was kind of in order, but we're making things out of order. And I was still at the workshop and we were making bits for the Mondasians Cybermen. Now, so I was still basically in the mold shop at the time, but obviously we're all in a massive family there. And Gary Pollard, who hopefully guys out there you must know because he's an incredible sculptor, maker of things. He worked at Millennium at the time, and he was tasked. Basically, that series was pretty much his series, and he made the look. Actually, he sculpted a lot of the monks as well, which even though some people don't quite like the stories, I think the monks look gorgeous.
I think the monk design is beautiful. Yeah,
absolutely.
I think everything in that whole series looks like I can't. I think it's one of the best looking series of Doctor Who I've ever seen. Yeah, 100%. The Capaldi era has a very. It seems to have a very distinctive look. I think every era has a distinctive look.
Yeah.
But then Series 12 is even separate from the early Capaldi era. It's like this self-contained series, which, like, it works like that on a story level as well. It's like a whole new beginning at the start of Series 10, and it's like this whole self-contained story, all about the fall of the 12th Doctor. But yeah, it really has this great look, which is obviously down to like Millennium and everyone else working behind the scenes. But sorry, go on. It's just
no, it's fine. Well, he was making a lot of maquettes for all the various kind of characters. So the I can't remember her name now, but the wooden girl from Knock Knock. Yeah. So he and I was it just him or was there a few other people? I think it was. I can't remember. But he was doing all of these pieces, and they were basically sculpted by the same hand, so they all had the same kind of look. And I think yet again over time, Millennium and the production office realised that there was a certain look that was happening, which is great. So as you say, everything has this same kind of feeling, the same way that I love season 18 because it looks like a one-off, like a I don't know. It looks so different from the rest of Tom Baker's era, but that's classic. Yeah. We'll get to a conversation about that later on. Anyway, so so all the way through this time, they knew that they had to make new, old Cybermen. And if anyone was at the Cyberman Doctor Who Experience Day, Gary was doing a talk there and brought along a couple of his maquettes. And he had a few. So if you don't know what a maquette is, it's like a smaller version of the thing that you're going to make, like a sketch. And so he made this kind of sketch version of a Mondasian Cyberman that was truly haunting. It was like a slightly see-through face covering, and you could there was all this makeup behind it. There, the eye holes had like oil coming out of it and stuff. It was all brought down and stuff, and they loved it, but they said they need to look fresh. They need to look straight out of straight out of the factory, but they also need to be like haunting, keep that haunting element, but they also need to be fresh, new, have that new car smell. TCP. So there was kind of comings and goings and stuff, and I saw the first test. So I was still in the mold shop at this time, and I saw the first test. Because Gary and I were getting close, because he was a gigantic Doctor Who fan, huge. So we used to talk about Doctor Who for hours. So I kind of poked my head in and was looking around and saw this Cyberman, full Mondasian Cyberman, and all I could hear in my head was, I hope I'm not going to peak the microphone. I could just
iconic music.
Those drums.
I love that music. It's some of my favorite music in all of Doctor Who.
Terrifying.
Is that the one where it starts like doom 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 doom?
Yes. It builds up.
Everyone knows what we're talking about. I can't remember the name of it to save my life now. But,
it's called something like Space
Adventure. Space Adventure Part 2 or something.
Part 2, Part 7, Part 3. Like there's
something like that, but it's perfect.
Which links back to one of my first memories. Actually, you've just reminded me. One of the other videos that my brother had was a Tomb of the Cybermen. That for me was brand new, but everyone was like, "Oh, it's never been seen before because it only just recently been found, and now it's on video." Whereas for me, it's like, a new video. So it was interesting that I didn't quite get that, but there was a little bit at the beginning, and I think it was the director that said that we've just found this, and it's just been. Or it's been something or other, and there was loads of Cybermen in the background. It looks so good. Anyway, the music was used on that one, so that's my memory of that music. Only to realise, I think on 30 Years in the TARDIS or something or other, when there's like a clip show, only to realise that when the Mondasian Cybermen were walking over the snow and hitting people on the back of their heads when they're trying to get into the TARDIS, that's the same music. And so for me, hearing those echoey drums and the kind of really distant echoey brass, that's the noise of the Cybermen, and now spoiler alert, Big Finish uses a similar feeling in quite a few of their Cybermen's stories. Which is lovely. Anyway, I'll get back to the Mondasians. So I saw that, and that was amazing. And I thought, if only I could go on set with those things. But I'd not been on set before. I'd only been on set when I was, visiting stuff at Pinewood and Leaves and Harry Potter. Like I only visited a set.
You're mainly based in the workshop. It's more like you're quite a separate team, because obviously it's a separate company. Like obviously, that makes sense. But obviously everyone's dream is to get onto that set.
Oh yeah, and it's
everyone
also
wants to get there.
Oh, everyone wants to, but it's also it's also down to trust as well and respect. And I knew that being a Doctor Who fan, that being in a place where my absolute passion was Doctor Who, I knew that I was in a difficult position because I didn't want to be the fan that wants to go on the set to meet the Doctor. I didn't want to be that person. I knew that I could possibly come off like that if I went down a certain route. So I knew it was very difficult. I didn't want to be like that. Plus, it's even though I love Doctor Who, I love my job, but I also love my job because I love Doctor Who. Like it's
so that's what I was trying to touch on before. Is like you've got to. It must have been hard when you're seeing things like, especially when you're working on monsters like the Ice Warriors and the Cybermen, and you're seeing them in the workshop, like to separate that fan side, and because at the end of the day, you're at work, like you have to, you're creating these things, you have to take it seriously. You're in work mode at that time, not Doctor Who fanboy node, like
Absolutely.
We all always are. But then obviously you can't lose too much of that because it's always, having that knowledge as a fan means that, you can put more into these things and make them like those Mondasian Cybermen that got brought back. They're perfect. And you look at them and you're like, a fan has worked on these.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
This isn't someone who's just seen a picture of a Mondasian Cyberman and then gone and made it. This is someone who this is a passion for them, and obviously you need that. But yeah, I can imagine, especially when it comes to going onto sets, that separating that is very difficult.
Well, the passion and the creation of the Mondasian Cybermen. Also, I mean, it's a collective thing. It's Kate Walsh, who is who's one of the heads of Millennium. She was the BBC Doctor Who and Millennium link as well. She project runner. It was a lot of her input as well. There's so many other people that were at Millennium that were kind of inputting things into Cyberman. But for me personally, I hope it doesn't cause any problems. I think it was Gary Pollard's vision and love, and I lent him spare parts, Big Finish's spare parts, and he used to listen to a lot of Big Finish in the car. And I said, please, if you're doing this, please listen to spare parts. That's one for you, Josh. You need to listen to spare parts, but you'll get there.
Yes,
we'll talk about that later on.
I know I've heard a lot about spare parts. That's so like the fact that you're listening to Big Finish. It's like it's come full circle where it's like Doctor Who essentially died in the late 80s, and then Big Finish revived it for the fans, brought it back, and then Doctor Who came back, and now Big Finish is inspiring Doctor Who, and it's just this whole big cycle.
And the amount of times that I was working on not just Doctor Who, but I listened to Big Finish every day at work. I was working at this week. I've decided to listen to The Legacy of Time again, just because of one piece of music. I mean, I'm not going to give everything away for you and anyone that hasn't seen it, but there's a piece of music towards the end of the box set, which incorporates a well-known sound effect. For those of you who have heard it at home, you know exactly what I mean. And after the end of the story and everything, you then hear the piece of music, because they always put on, now in recent years, thank God, they put the music at the end of the story, just a little suite, a little kind of 5-minute suite of it. And because I travel quite a long time to get there. It's an hour to travel to the workshop I'm working at the moment. So I was listening to it in the car, and I listened to it at work, and just hearing that piece of music. Anyway. So I listened to it a lot at work. So I was listening whilst I was doing a lot of stuff there. At Millennium, I would listen to a lot of Cyberman stories, Sword of Orion as well. But I lent Gary spare parts, and he loved it. and yeah, like I mean, he might have taken ideas from it. I don't know. Probably not. I don't want to say too much, just in case if it's completely rubbish. But
No.
I just wanted to. I love the Cybermen. They are so creepy. They are a horror movie to me. And we were talking about it, so I just asked him, like, what does it do? What does this do? What does that do? How do you envision that working? And then we'd have a chat about it. And I bought my Cyberman, my David Banks Cyberman book. It's a 90s book. It's kind of green. It's got a beautiful Cyberman on the front of it. And I bought that in to show him, and I was like, I love this book so much. And I stole it from my brother when I was a child. And then obviously I gave it back to him, and then I bought my own. But I gave it to him, and I just said, look, just look at it or don't look at it. I just wanted to be on your desk when you're thinking about things. When you're thinking about stuff, so it's there. But
yeah, it's there. It's been touched by Cybermen creators.
Yeah,
it's got that Cyberman essence on it.
Yeah, it's got the essence of Cyberman. It's so true. Even though I don't like, I used to wear my Doctor Who scarf, my Tom Baker scarf, into the workshop, just because I knew that it was close. I mean, this is such a fan thing to say. It was close to something to do with Doctor Who. Did I,
because I have the opposite, where I want to get things probably that have been in your workshop, so that I've got something that's been close to Doctor Who in my house. So, for example, I have one of these from the movie Reliquary. I don't know.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yes, I've got one of these small pieces of Cyberman, which from the like 2006 series, which is just like, I think it's one of like the foam tubes. I think. Yeah. And when I got this, I was like, this is literally one of the coolest things I own. I'll put a picture of it up on the Twitter page for anyone who's interested.
Oh, that's amazing.
This episode comes out. But it's it sits on my desk, and it's one of my favorite things that I own. So I completely get what you're saying there, where you just want that Who essence near it in some way.
Well, I'll skip forward a little bit, because there's so much that I could talk about. But
I know this is the thing. There's a lot.
Yeah. So skip forward a little bit. So I never thought that I'd be able to go on set with any of this stuff, because I don't want to. I just wanted to do a good job and to send it out there and to have a good time, and that's that. I was lucky that. One of the makeup artists that was on set was, I think a different job came in or something like that, or maybe they were ill or something like that. I was asked to go and stand in for one of the makeup artists with the Ice Warriors.
Yeah.
So I was at that moment casting out bits for the Cybermen, because I think we had about. Did we have like 9 of them, or 8 or 9 of them, maybe 11 Cybermen, Mondasians, and I was just like casting out all these fast cast pieces and all the various little bits and bobs and all that stuff. But they were shooting at that time. They were shooting the Ice Warrior episode, and it was the first couple of days. And I think whoever the makeup artist was, I think they were ill or something or other. So I then stood in, and for one day, and I was told, can you just go and do one day, makeup, just assist with some stuff. So I found and that was on a Sunday, and I was starting on the Monday, and Kate rang me and said, can you do it? And I was like, yeah, what time is it? It's like 11 o'clock in the morning, and it's a Sunday. Yeah, okay. So I borrowed my housemate at the time, shout out to Mikey, hi. I borrowed his makeup kit, because I didn't even have a makeup kit at that time. I thought there's no way that I'm ever going to be using a makeup kit ever again. So I borrowed his makeup kit, and I basically got in the car and went to Cardiff, and got booked into a hotel. So I just rocked up to the hotel and and sat in the hotel room. Because it took 4 hours to get there in my little my little black Citroen Saxo that I had that was really struggling, like chugging around the M25, chugging down the M4, thinking that this is the longest journey in the entire world, and making my way into Cardiff, and I was in a complete chaotic world. And I think I met someone there, and they said, we'll go to the studio tonight to get you signed in and to get a card so you're in the morning, because we've got to be at work at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I my out, as you can probably tell, currently, I do have a lot of Doctor Who themed clothes. For the listeners listening, I'm currently wearing a nice kind of off yellow hoodie with a red pocket and a blue star. It isn't an actual Adric hoodie, but I saw it and thought that has to be my new outfit.
I didn't clock it until about halfway through the podcast, and I was like, I've got to mention this at some point. But you've even got the star of mathematical excellence.
I mean, that's Forbidden Planet. That is Forbidden Planet, available now on forbiddenplanet.com. So that is that's Forbidden Planet, and I just had to put it on this.
Unless you want
to. No.
Not sponsored, but give me money. Go ahead.
But I have at that time I had every other T-shirt was a Doctor Who T-shirt. Now not so much, because I've just grown out of them. But at that time I had a lot of Doctor Who clothes. So I thought I'd take a couple of things down with me. I threw some stuff into the bag. When I got there, I realised that I had 2 Doctor Who T-shirts and 2 normal T-shirts, and the T-shirt that I was wearing. So I was only there for a day, and I just threw things into a bag. I didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, I'm not going to wear the Doctor Who T-shirt on set, because that would be so unprofessional. I did not want to do that at all. I thought, who's this bozo coming in here that's just bumbling along? Hello, I'm a Doctor Who fan. I didn't want to be that new person. Look at this idiot here. And I thought, I do not want to do that at all. Got in and just rolled into the makeup department at the BBC. We were doing 2 gigantic Ice Warriors, and putting on their lower part silicone makeup. In the seat in the middle as well was the Empress, and they were doing her foam makeup and her neck piece, because she had a neck piece and then a mouthpiece. And then when you do those makeups, you then have to put all of their pieces on. Skip forward to that evening. I think someone rang me up from the office and said, look, can you stay for a couple more days, because everyone said I think either they wanted the help or something or other. And also I was able to put the helmets on because these guys are like 7 foot 7.5 miles tall, and putting on those helmets and stuff, and I think they just wanted an extra pair of hands, so they said, could you stay there for a couple of days? And I was like, absolutely. I was there for the rest of the episode. I was there for weeks and weeks and weeks. I had brand new white Nike trainers that were orange red at the bottom with the dust, because it was like it was red dust and salt all mixed together, and it was just dust everywhere. And I had these brand new trainers. I don't know why I wore them, but they were red, disgustingly red. I was really thrown into the deep end there, but it was such a lot of fun. Just helping everyone put on the makeups, holding the pieces in place, and putting on all of these really heavy pieces of costume, just looking after the guys that were there. And I had a giant fan, like this big, on radio, this big. Listeners, it was this big. Can you see how gigantic it was?
Yes.
It was a lot.
We're talking large.
Yeah, it was a
large.
It was a very large shade fan from like RuPaul's Drag Race kind of thing. If anyone's seen RuPaul's Drag Race, that it was a huge clacking fan. It would make a nice like clack noise, and it had shade written over it. And I had that with me for some reason. Oh no, I bought that with me because I thought it would be good for the Ice Warriors when they take their helmets off to instantly get some not shade, but like to get some bit of airing, and they loved it. So I had these fans all over the place, just fanning everyone. It was such a blast. But of course, I was there to be there for the rest of the week, and whoever was on the phone that called me up and said, "Can you stay there for the rest of the week?" I realised that I only had a couple of T-shirts that weren't Doctor Who ones, and I after a day of being there, literally 4 a.m. until 8-9 at night, I just stank of like set and everything. So on the last day, I
smelt of Ice Warrior.
And they stink. The last day I had to wear a K9 t-shirt. I made a choice, and I thought I'm going to wear a K9 t-shirt because if people there are not Doctor Who fans, then maybe they won't get the reference that it was a K9 t-shirt. I think it was one that had it was like it had K9, it had the words, it had him on it, but it was all like blueprints, like K9 blueprints, whatever it is. And I got in there, and the first thing that happened was that I stood there with my fan, with an Ice Warrior, and Peter Capaldi walks past me and goes, "Oh, K9," and then walks past me.
Whoa.
And I went,
wow.
Oh bugger. Oh bugger it. He's like the one person that I wanted to be cool, and that I didn't want to sound like too much of a fan was Peter Capaldi.
Yeah, but to Peter Capaldi, that is cool because he's just as much as a fan as we are. He's just like us. That is mental. So I just can't get my head around the fact that you're just sat on the sofa watching Sunday Brunch, and then like 24 hours later you're sticking helmets on Ice Warriors, and you're there for weeks in Cardiff.
My entire world changed drastically because it wasn't. It was also obviously take it for red, the fact that it was Doctor Who. The other thing was that I was on set. The other thing was that I was on set on a BBC production, and the other thing was that my entire that like my outlook of what my job would be would change, because now I've learned I'm learning what it's like to be on set. So my outlook completely changed, and I understood a lot more. I learned such a lot, because Doctor Who is a marathon. It's a marathon. It's a run. It's the Olympics of television, because it's, as we said before, it's done on a minuscule budget, Hollywood movie, and you've got hundreds of things that's happening. It's literally the only thing on television that is story-wise that isn't just about like the story is about time, space. Therefore, it's about infinity. Like the ideas, the concepts are huge and gigantic, and therefore the TV show itself is gigantic. What other TV show out there? One week you're in the Victorian era, another week you're inside someone's mind, and the other week, you're in the 90s. What's going on here? But it's the 90s on a different planet, and then you're in a parallel world, and then suddenly, like, what's going on? What? It's so crazy, and it really is amazing. It really is absolutely amazing. So I had I didn't even know. You know when you've got. Oh God, I'm trying to think of a concept. Like fill a glass up with water and get right to the top. That's how much respect I had for everyone who involved in Doctor Who, in television, but in Doctor Who. And then put that glass underneath Niagara Falls. That's how much respect I've got. Like, so much respect for these people. And it's funny because some of those people there, it was just a job. And then there was little old me that thought this is an incredible job, an incredible opportunity, but it's also on the thing that is absolutely my favorite thing. So seeing the Doctor in front of me, and then the fact that, like, Pearl, her phone ran out of battery, and she asked one of the ADs if it has anyone got a phone cable or something or other. And I tried to be the most prepared person in the entire world, and I overheard this, and I said, "Oh, I've got," not knowing Pearl asked for this for a phone cable. I said to the AD, "Oh, I've got like a phone charger battery pack thing," and they went, "Oh, do you mind if Pearl uses it?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, she can. Yeah, she's got it.
If Bill wants to use it, then absolutely fine. So she used my phone charger, and she was like, "Oh, cheers, mate." I was like, "Thank you." And then it was. I mean, obviously she wasn't. I didn't know her. I didn't know how important that she would be to the story, or how much of a. I love Bill. I think Bill is such a great character.
Amazing character.
And just also, it's the when you get a one season character like that, and they've got such a great arc. It was just
it's
wonderful.
all closed off within those like 12, 13 episodes. It's great. Yeah, there's a lot of love here for Capaldi and Bill. It's the first. I mean, we're gonna take a little break in a moment.
Oh, absolutely.
But the first entry, smooth segue. The first entry to the DVD collection was from Series 10. It was Thin Ice.
What a segue.
Yes. So when we come back from this short break, we will be taking a little slide on over to the shelf to see what Jimmy wants to put in the DVD collection.
I cannot wait.
Welcome back. I hope you all had a lovely break. I'm still here with Jimmy.
Still here with me.
Still here. We're here.
It's interesting what the listeners don't understand is that in these breaks, the jazz band comes in to play.
Do, yeah.
So they've come. I didn't even know how you got my address because they came in through the door and I was like, gosh, they're here.
Yeah, I have all of your addresses.
And it's Courtney Pine, isn't it? And so I went along with my little cassette to get it signed. My favorite kind of jazz, straight blowing.
Yeah, No, I constantly have a saxophonist next to me at all times.
All times playing variations of Doctor. Or
yes,
as well.
Space Adventure Part 372.
Or what's the other one? Everyone hates it. I love it. Oh God, is it Carey? No, is it Tristan? No, it's not Tristan Carey. It's oh gosh, who is it? The Death to the Daleks music and the Revenge of the Cybermen music.
Oh, yeah, I'm really sorry. I'm one of those people. Death to the Daleks music is so strange. Why would you put it over that?
It's a choice. It's yet again a choice. The thing is, which reason I like that music is because it's minute compared to sometimes the grandiosity of the other music. It is like what is it? It's like a 5-piece orchestra, a tiny little orchestra with and if you listen to the soundtrack just by itself, which was available, I think, on the 50th anniversary box set of Everything music.
Yeah.
It's distant. It's like inside a gigantic room. So the sound of the room and like the scrapers and the admittedly,
love a scraper. I always have a scraper in there.
Those little fish scraper thing, love that.
Yeah.
Admittedly, the saxophone quartet for the Daleks is strange, but I quite like how weird it is because it just like it reduces the Daleks to these weird because they've got no power, so it reduces the Daleks to this weird box of shouty anger. And what are they? I think a lot of people on Twitter call them the scientists or something like that. They're like the science exploration gang. So there's just this little bunch of them that are these kind of like, I am so annoyed by everything, I can't fire at you. So they've got guns.
They are really angsty, shouty boys, aren't they?
Absolutely, they've got no power. They've got none.
I think they're they're like teenagers. They're like the teenagers of the Daleks. They're just like, oh my god, Mom! Oh my god!
And especially because one of them
you're so embarrassing.
He gets smacked over the head a couple of times by some of the Exelons, and then goes, "Oh, I'm just gonna explode! Oh, out of control! And it's like, what? You didn't even try. You can't even get away. You just decide to hide and.
Yeah. I think that episode should have been called the adolescence of the Daleks.
Absolutely.
The puberty of the Daleks. I just imagine all of that teenage angst. Right, let's go right over to the shelf and see what our friend here wants to enter into the DVD collection.
Power of Grayskull.
The Unicorn and the Wasp or Love and Monsters?
Which one do you think I prefer?
No, I mean, which one do you want to watch first?
You are pulling my leg.
My DVD collection edition harks back to what I said earlier on about my first initial stories that I saw as a kid that has influenced me over the years in lots of little different ways, and also has terrified me the most out of all of the Doctor Who stories. I've never been so terrified, apart from this one story. We're going classic. We're going
classic.
We're going a choice. There was lots of choices that were made in this story, and I think ultimately, as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the best stories. I have a list of the best stories in my head. I'm going to throw out to you something which isn't just available on DVD. It also is available, quite rightly so, and because it is available on, just because of the way that it was filmed, it's also available on Blu-ray. I'm going to throw out to you, if potential,
yes.
if I may have this, please can I stick onto the shelf, Spearhead from Space?
Of course you can. Why would I say no? It's a classic. It is a classic.
It's one of the best for so many reasons. Now, I think, wasn't it the last episode that I think it was the last episode that wasn't Billy talking about
the nightmare with the Autons? Is that what you're referring to?
No, film and videotape. Were we
yes,
talking about that?
It was. Yeah, we were talking about that because he has this love for videotape over film. I think that's what he was saying.
Now, yes. Now, I absolutely have the same thing, because sometimes the jarring in between and if Monty Python fans out there would understand what I'm saying about the sketch, where there's a sketch where they're inside and it's on videotape, but it's strange. If we go outside, we're on film. This room is we're surrounded by film. We can't get outside without seeing the film. Like, that's sometimes what it feels like, and it can be so jarring. But if you film an entire episode on film, you get an incredible looking story. It is a shame, I think, sometimes that a lot of stories that were filmed on videotape that could have benefited from being on film, but this is talking from a perspective of someone that was born in 87 and that has grown up now. So it is, for instance, the story afterwards, the Silurian story, it suffers from being inside on a set on videotape, overlit. The only times that interior caves have worked, I think, is on Caves of Androzani, because you take out half the lights. Spearhead from Space is the first story in color. It is a brand new Doctor.
That'd be fun, though. A colour-in story.
A
paint-by-number too.
That would be
like colour your own story. That would be great.
That is interactivity. Okay, copyright.
The future of Who. Go ahead. Yes, we'll do it.
The first story in colour, the first story with a brand new Doctor. The connection to previous stuff is the Brigadier. We've got a new companion. We've got a whole new setup. You're stranded on Earth now. What are you going to do? A brand new baddie, villain, monster, creature, alien as well, with the Autons. And it is terrifying for me as a kid. And it's, I think, wasn't it Billy that was talking about a dream, a nightmare was the the Autons coming up the stairs?
He had a nightmare where an Auton walked up the stairs and murdered his parents, which is absolutely horrific. And he said it's the fact that it's not like a 2005 Auton, it's the boiler suited, empty eyes Autons. That's terrifying. That's probably the worst thing I've ever heard. It's grim. And I just want to give a bit of Auton love, because I think what we've established here is that surely now we're at a point we've only got 3 Auton stories. Am I right there? We've got
So
Spearhead, Terror, and then Rose.
The Autons came back in the Big Bang. Was it the Big Bang?
Yeah,
Sorry,
so they've
Big
got
Bang,
a little cameo in there. Yeah.
Rory the Auton.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Rory the Auton. But in terms of where they're the main threat and they're a consistent threat, I'm pretty sure that's it.
Yeah.
Which is mad. You've got two stories within like a year of each other in the early 70s, and then one, which is the first episode back in 2005. Like, but they never seem to come up as the most iconic. They never seem to get put in the bracket of the Daleks and the Cybermen and the Ice Warriors and stuff like that.
But they are so. The concept of them is huge.
It's genius, and there's so much you can do with it, and I hope they do more with it. But one thing that I wanted to touch on is that it seems like a lot of people's first experiences with Who are the Autons. You always hear people say, obviously, people my age, our first experience was Rose. So the Autons brought Doctor Who into my world, and for that, they'll always be iconic for me. But then, like I asked my mum the other day. My mum watched a little bit of Pertwee and a little bit of Baker when she was younger, but she can't remember a lot. She said she only has two memories of Doctor Who. One was John Pertwee gurning in a cave, which I imagine was the demons. I was trying. She literally, that's all she gave me, and she was like, "What episode would that have been?" And I was like,
"It's several."
Actually, funnily enough, John Pertwee gurns in a lot of caves, which is quite interesting. But then
it could be she also mentioned spiders as well.
It could be anything. Yeah, there's a lot of cave gurning. The Silurians as well. I think
that. Please, someone put that on a T-shirt. John Pertwee gurning in a cave.
Gurning in a cave. I love that. I love Pertwee gurns. We spoke a lot in the holiday special about Pertwee gurns, and it's great. Are you writing down John Pertwee gurning in a cave?
It's just beautiful.
I just saw you think about it and then just start jotting something down.
It's just beautiful. The concept is beautiful.
What a beautiful image. But then also, I think she mentioned, and this seems to be something that loads of people who were casual fans back in the day mention, just shop window dummies. And it's such an iconic image. Like just shop window dummies smashing out of windows, or shop window dummies walking down the street, or like plastic people, or I mean, not as many people mention the weird little figure in Terror of the Autons,
the troll doll.
Or getting eaten by a bin bag inflatable chair. There's some strange Auton decisions, but
and a daffodil. I mean, there's so much.
Oh, the daffodil's great. Yeah, now, I love that.
This is why it's for me. It's top tier. It is gold. It's gold. It's platinum. It's adamantium level worth of pure Doctor Who, because it deals with something, an everyday item, an everyday concept, something which was very in vogue at the time, being kind of the high street. You have fashion. You have just the concept of being of just people shopping and buying and all of this kind of all of that kind of stuff. Then it's a bad thing. Then it smashes out of. It's basically Doctor Who behind a piece of glass. Doctor Who is behind the TV. And it smashes out and goes, "Hey, you were scared of the Yeti a couple of years ago. You were scared of the Yeti on the underground. Well, now we're not even on the underground. Now we are out in. We are anywhere. We are walking towards you, and we can look like anyone.
Yeah, we can look like all of these new shiny toys you bought, all of these new things that you bought. We can look like any of them. That is a genius concept. Which, if you look obviously it's in different ways. If you look today, like it's almost an exact parallel to what people like Charlie Brooker are doing with Black Mirror. He's taking oh what, you've all bought an iPhone. Well, what if that iPhone is the most terrifying thing on earth?
Yeah.
Or you've just joined Twitter, and now Twitter wants to kill you. Those kinds of concepts.
Absolutely.
Where it's like you convert that everyday household object, the things we take for granted, and turn it into something horrifying.
Yeah. Which is why Rose was such a great episode, because it dealt with consumerism. It dealt with the autons, all that kind of stuff. Which is why I think the Sononauts Stratagem is a great, not necessarily great episode, but a great concept with Atmos. The thing that can actually, all of those things is what Doctor Who does brilliantly, and. Spare from Space as well. Just all of the hospital scenes, the Doctor going into the going to get his costume out of the from where the doctors put their clothes, like picking up random stuff. The intrigue that we see the Doctor in the shower, and he's got a tattoo. The fact that exists and that has given everyone intrigue. I love that that's in that story. The Autons themselves, the Autons are so scary. That was it. So that's what I was going to say. I had a reoccurring dream as a child, and the one that I can remember vividly was a kind of Debenhams store, and in Debenhams. Oh, R.I.P. Has Debenhams gone? Has that gone recently?
I think it's going. It's on its way.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Debenhams. R.I.P. Oh my God. Debenhams and those kind of stores. We have no allegiances. If you want to.
Yes, I know you're in your final days, but sponsor me if you like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
You could do anything, and please do. But those kind of stores where you have like the shop, they're not shop window dummies. They're in the shop. They're next to. Hey, you want this shirt? Well, next to the shirt is an Auton standing there with this is you could look like this. It's those ones that are on their little pedestal things, or no, not pedestal. They're on their little a little box or something, and they're all like different levels, and they're all. I mean, this is great radio. I'm gonna actually do it now. But they're all standing, like that, and then there's one sitting like that.
Yeah.
Doing that. There's all of that. Oh gosh, there's all of that going on. Great radio there.
It was wonderful posing, by the way.
I looked incredible. I wore a wig. It was
it was great.
And they're all sitting there, and I was wafting through this shop, and of course they all come out and get me. But what's even freakier was that they snapped at me, just like the new ones in Rose. So this was before Rose. This was during the 90s, and they would snap and try and grab me, and it was absolutely terrifying, and I couldn't get out of the shop. And I had that regularly throughout the 90s. I had the same nightmare. And
I think you and Billy both need to go to some kind of Auton therapy.
We do,
because you both had horrific Auton dreams.
Well, now this is the other thing. This is the other thing which I have found interesting, that my fascination with the Autons and the fact that I had a terrible reoccurring nightmare of these things coming to, like, snapping towards me and grabbing parts of me. I think they also at one point they tickled me to death, which is a bizarre thing to say. But,
that's horrible.
Yeah, it was freaky. I put that. I think that my fascination started with monsters at that time, because the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to make an Auton costume. So I remember buying a boiler suit and making a paper mache hand that came apart, that had like a lighter in it or something. And I tried to do such a lot of stuff.
So is this back in the 90s when you're a kid?
Yeah, this was.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so maybe it was between the ages of like 8 and 11, I think. And I used to make a lot of costumes and things, Doctor Who costumes. I made like a Hemable costume, which was like, I made the gloves and a little mask, and then I made, here's another little thing. I know that we're supposed to be on the DVD collection at the moment.
That's fine. Segue, go ahead.
Another little segue is, I made a Cyberman costume when I was 13 with the same boiler suit that I had, bizarrely enough, for the Auton. I had one boiler suit, and therefore I used it for every costume. So it was a blue boiler suit, so don't drag me yet. It was a choice. Yeah. I had a blue boiler suit, and I put loads of rope all over it and sewed rope into it and everything. I made a chest piece. It was a revenge chest piece. I had a 3-fingered glove. Interesting choice. Don't know why. I just thought it was nice. And I made the Cyberman revenge-esque cardboard helmet, and I had a super soaker gun, and took that photo and I sent it into the Doctor Who magazine. And I can't remember which magazine it is now off the top of my head, but there's if you can, readers, listeners, viewers out there, there's a magazine with the Rani from Dimensions and Time on the cover of it in the mid-90s, and I was 13 at the time. So when would that have been? Maths. So 87, 97. So what was it, 99? It was around
99, 2000. Yeah.
It was around that time. The Rani's on the front of it. In the reader section, it says, because they got rid of one of their long running things, that the editorial pieces, and they said, so sorry to see that editorial piece is going to go. We're not going to do that anymore. We're doing something else. But because there's that thing going, we're going to cheer you up with a picture of James Mann, 13, in a homemade Cyberman costume. And I got into the Doctor Who magazine, and I was so happy. But I couldn't explain my choice of the blue boiler suit, which was my Auton boiler suit. But I also thought, well, wouldn't it be interesting to have different versions of Cybermen with different colours? And he was supposed to be...
That's fine. You don't have to justify yourself.
but this is how detailed I was. Because I had a super soaker, I thought, and it's a blue boiler suit. He's a naval Cyberman. He's working...
That's cool.
He's working...
A Navy Cyberman. Yeah.
I mean, it says a lot about me. But anyway, well, I mean, another sideline story is that much later, someone contacted me. Hey, Martin contacted me. Oh, actually, no, he was a friend of someone at Millennium, and he did he wanted to interview me, and Joe Browning and Gary Pollard from Millennium. He wanted to interview us for the Doctor Who magazine. And we were in the Doctor Who magazine yearbook 2018, and it's got Capaldi in the front of it and a Jodie in the background. And there's about a 4-page like interview with all three of us, and they've put that photo in there because the whole thing was supposed to be fans that have their like careers and their jobs and everything has being part of their fandom into jobs, into working on the thing.
Yeah, so, which is perfect for the Capaldi era, because that sums up Peter Capaldi better than anyone.
Really does. Anyway,
but that is so sweet. That's a lovely little sidetrack, because that's so sweet. The idea that you were in Doctor Who magazine like 20 years ago, in a little Cyberman costume that you made as a naval Cyberman, and then years later you're in there with the same picture but talking about how you've helped create Mondasian Cybermen and been on set. It's amazing. That's so cool. But the DVD collection,
Spearhead. Oh my God, Spearhead is in.
Spearhead
so
is in.
So to wrap up Spearhead, it is a filmic it is a film. It is beautiful. It's shot so beautifully. The music is unlike any other Doctor Who music at all. That music of when the Autons come out of the windows and stuff is absolutely incredible. And everyone does so incredibly well. And the funny thing is that the Auton destruction that is said all the way through, you know, when they're saying when the Doctor and Liz are trying to work out on the kind of ECT machine or whatever it is, that machine that they've got, the brig is on the phone, the music's going, and he's saying, what's happening? Oh, this is going on and that's going on, everything's happening, Doctor, such a lot is happening. And he puts down the phone, and all of this chaos that is happening in London, in the world, whatever it is, you see none of it, but you get it, you understand it.
Yeah, that happens a lot in the Pertwee era, doesn't it? A lot of it is like they're in like somewhere in Hertfordshire, in like the middle of a field, or in a cave in like Devon or something, and all of the chaos, the real like political chaos. There's a lot of political undertones, but you see none of it. It's all happening in London. It's all the brig's on the phone to everybody in London, just dealing with all of that chaos, while we see all the cool alien stuff.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's a great
Spearhead is a great choice. It's
wonderful,
great choice. And
the
our
link
first
to
post regeneration story as well.
Oh yes, absolutely.
We've had a regeneration story, but never had. If I'm right, no, it's our first post-regeneration story.
Well, a way to kick it off as well. It's John Pertwee at his best, which is funny because he just starts, and he starts straight in as the Doctor. He's there running around. Oh, and it's the fact that the baddies are wearing boiler suits and silver boots, a choice. And the baddies themselves, the fact that it's just this blank face. But also, because of the way that they did it, they've got like, and you see in the close-ups, they've got this strange fabric behind, which obviously, you know, the actor can see out of, but no one can see in. For me, it terrified me more that you had this strange bumpy fabric behind it, because I thought, well, what is behind that? It's gross.
Yeah.
And everything about it is great, and even to the point where you have the kind of you know, the rubber arm coming out, and John Pertwee's battling with it backwards, and I even love that, because John Pertwee gurning.
Yes, I was going to say there's a lot of Pertwee gurns,
and it looks gross, because also at the same time that's happening, you've got a piece of cellophane that's covered in gunge, with this only to describe, I can only describe it as some kind of alien sphincter that seems to be like going in and out. It is disgusting. It is so disgusting. So I don't care that there's this tentacle coming over the top, because it's covered in hair. It's making the grossest noise. And then you've got this sphincter going in and out of this piece of plastic. All these noises are happening, and then you've got poor Liz Shaw that's trying to reverse the polarity of the neutron flow, and it's like, it's just such a lot is happening. It is gross and brilliant, and there's a fight sequence with the Autons and some unit soldiers, and there's guns and there's explosions. The explosions sound brilliant. There's smoke. That's top tier for me, DVD. But also the possibility that if you want to watch it on Blu-ray, you can
watch it on Blu-ray,
because it's film.
Lovely choice, lovely choice. Now we've got a few questions here, so we're gonna slide on over to our favourite place. It's bloody Twitter.
For God's sake! Bloody Twitter!
Bloody Twitter.
Yes. So I am going to quickfire a few of these.
Oh gosh.
Because I want to spend as much time as possible on the Corridor of Fame. So let's quickfire, and they're quickfireable questions.
Great.
So a friend of the show, a legend of the podcast. It's Vance. It's Tom Vance.
Of course.
He's in with a couple of questions. They're brilliant as always. So the
Okay,
first
come at me.
one is genuinely a great question. You have to use one prop that you designed or helped design or created, just something that you worked on, in your car as a cup holder. Which prop do you pick and why?
Okay. The first thing that comes to mind is an actual cup holder. So tentative, yes. Good story, yes. So inside the Mondasian Cyberman chest units, the ones that Millennium made, if you look to the side of them, there's the row of about 5 or 6 lights that gently flash on and off. Those lights are in a housing that I think Joe Browning made, and there's like little circular housings for the bulb things that kind of go into it and stuff. Those detailed housings, I can't remember who it was at Millennium, but they decided to cast. I'm not sure whether I should. Well, I'm there now. I'm going to have to say it. So they decided to cast out a couple of them because the interior of them was made by putting the little shot glasses in them, and the shot glasses we use to put prosthetic glue in and stuff. So the shot glasses are used constantly. The shape that the light bulbs go into is the interior of a shot glass. So they cast out trays of these Cyberman chest unit pieces that we can use to actually put our cups into, to hold our glue on our desks or on whatever we use. And we can do that. So they cast them. I can't remember who it was. Who was it? And they did that. So we've got. I've got one in my makeup kit, an actual cup holder that's made from, that's molded from pieces from the Mondasian Cybermen. And I used it on the Cyberman day, the monster days and the Cyberman days that we had at the Doctor Who Experience. We put all of our shot glasses of glue and thinners and IPA and stuff in there. So I would use that because that's a great question. That's such a good question.
It's an actual shot glass. That's
actual shot glass. I think I've got a picture somewhere that
I just need to say, by the way, we are not advocating taking shots whilst driving.
Oh gosh, no, not at all.
No, we're not. But
was the question?
It was in a car.
Oh
in
gosh.
A car, yeah.
I mean, I sip water throughout the day, so I would put my water in those shot glasses.
Water in small water glasses.
Absolutely.
There we go.
Reiterate there.
Yes.
What a lovely question. Thank you, Thomas.
Oh, well, we have another one from Tom. Very quick.
Okay.
Can you differentiate between regular oranges and oranges advertised as easy to peel?
Possibly. Oh, what is this? Have I got to refer back to Doctor Who, or is this just
no?
This isn't a David Tennant having a tangent. Oh, okay.
No, this is literally just a question regarding oranges. We get a lot of these from Tom.
Easy peelers, and aren't easy peelers genetically chosen because their skins are looser? But
that's a horrible sentence.
I know.
I just want to say genetically chosen as their skin is looser.
But isn't that why they're easy peelers? I don't
know.
I think it is. So therefore, I think
I think by pinching you might be able to tell.
yeah, I think you can usually see that, and I think the skin is slightly smoother. So the skin is smoother, but it's also I might be, that's rubbish. I don't know. Possibly, I think I could look at it and go, yeah,
You could do it. You can do it. I trust you.
Whip it off
You
in
could
one
do this.
motion. Yeah, absolutely.
Really? You just one strip
Absolutely,
of an arm.
just like a twist, and it's there. Straight off, and then at the same time, with my other finger, I flick the entire tangerine into my mouth, and yeah, that's it. And
We're bringing tangerines into this now.
Oh, hang on, what is it? An easy peel? What was the question?
Orange.
Oh, it's an orange.
Just oranges. I don't know if we're bringing other citric fruits into this.
Oh gosh, I mean, we've got to give them all love.
Yeah,
I love a tangerine. I love an orange. I love.
Satsumas are great. Obviously.
Satsumas. I love
Clementines.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Easy peelers. Right.
Yeah.
Next question.
That's what they used to call me.
The easy peeler.
The easy peeler.
The next question is someone who's going to be a big fan of you. He's a regular in the bloody Twitter section. It's Jamie _ season 7.
Hello.
Is obsessed with season 7. So you'll be in his good books for putting Spearhead in. He's asked, what is your favourite prop featured in Classic Who?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, I will say the prop that I most coveted as a child, and I have subsequently obsessed about, and I mean absolutely obsessed. I'm obsessed about it now, is the standard, everyday, most of the doctors have it, the sonic screwdriver. It is...
Yeah, of course.
It is, to me, it's everything that I wanted. Okay, now, this is how obsessed I have been about it. That noise that everyone go... I can't, I'm just thinking about it. So I have such a reaction to a lot of Doctor Who. For instance, Spearhead from Space, the noises that the shoes make on the floor in the hospital scenes when the porter is hoovering on the floor, those shoes, there's a little squeak that the shoes make. I love it. I love that. I love that sound. The sound
that's in depth.
The sound that Harry Sullivan's knee makes in Revenge of the Cybermen when he crouches down to see one of the victims. I love that noise. It's terrible. I love that noise. The noise that, yet again, Barbara, everyone's shoes make in the Dalek City, in the Daleks, in the first Dalek story. Their shoes clip-clopping around. It's light. You can't. It's amazing. Love that. The sound that the sonic
What did you use to recreate that then? I just want to know because I couldn't see.
It was an Apple remote. It was an Apple TV remote.
Okay.
But it clips. It's like it's a two-tone.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
I'll probably ruin people's ears with that. The sound that the sonic screwdriver makes when it gets put down on the table in Genesis of the Daleks, and the sound that it makes when Tom uses it to destroy that thing, like it's not the sound of the actual of the concept of the sonic screwdriver. It's the sound of the prop. It's the sound of the springs inside.
Clicking and the. Yeah.
I am obsessed by it and have obsessed by it for years. My brother and my dad was there for the first episode of Doctor Who in '63, so he's been there since the beginning, and he knew how much of an impact it's going to have on myself and my brother, me more so, but they made me a sonic screwdriver when I was a kid, and it was made out of a piece of dowel. And to get all those various different levels that the standard sonic screwdriver is made out of, they just wrapped different levels of tape around it. So it's masking tape. So they just did loads of masking tape around one bit, and then a tiny little bit, and then no masking tape, and then loads. And I have a picture of me dressed as John Pertwee with the hat on from a Spearhead from Space. And a cape which was made out of one of my sister's old school skirts that had just been cut up one side, so you could just put it over like a cape.
Nice.
And I used to gather in shirts, and I've got a picture of me as a tiny baby with a sonic screwdriver, and I was so obsessed with that. I needed the sonic screwdrivers. Over the years, obviously this story has to have a good ending, and it does. Over the years, I have been very lucky enough to be able to collect various sonic screwdrivers. So I haven't got the second Doctor Sonic screwdriver because there's all that. There's like no one really quite knows what it looks like. There's 4 or 5 different things that could be.
Yeah, it's like that weird pen-like thing, isn't it?
Yeah, there's like a pen or a whistle or a pen with this or a pen with that. So yeah, who knows? Yeah, so I'll get there eventually. But I've got Tom Baker's Sonic. I've got the Sonic with the white band around the middle of it, and that that has the extendable. Oh, the fact that in Robot, when he takes it out of his pocket, this isn't. I'm just picking up. When he pulls it out, it doesn't have the emitter head on it, and Tom, because it just came off because it was just made from ramshackle bits and bobs put together. So as he pulled it out of his pocket, the head came off, and he went, "Oh well, it turns into a thingamajig," and goes back into his pocket to pull out the emitter head, and then just twists that on and said, "See, that wasn't." I mean, as I've tried to do my research about that, as far as I've heard, that wasn't part of the script. That was just because the prop came out and was missing the emitter head. It's
a timeless prop, isn't it? It's amazing, and even now, because the Jodie one, not my favourite design, but you know what? So give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna grab my character options.
Here we
Jodie
go.
Sonic.
Here we go. Okay, he's gonna go over to pick up the sonic screwdriver. So there it is. It's on. Okay, so it's in a little box. Actually, it's quite a large box. It's got the seal of Rassilon on the front of it. It's the one from the TV movie. That's what he's gone to go and get.
Hello. I'm back.
I just saw you pick up the sonic screwdriver from inside that box from the TV movie. And I was just explaining it to everyone. So he went into a different room, and the room next to the.
Yes.
So just to say, no one actually sees this, and I'm privy to some quite incredible information here. The room that he's in at the moment is basically the console room from the TV movie. So he's in the
pretty much.
He's in the library area, so he had to move through to the area with all the clocks. So you were just out of. This is just for the readers. I'm
for the readers,
for the readers out there, and just to also say, I'm currently wearing an entirely accurate version of Adric's costume, and I'm sitting here in Romana's room, a impeccable version of Romana's room, from season 18.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah,
that's exactly what we're doing.
But
the reason why I grabbed this, right? So I just grabbed the 13th Doctor Sonic screwdriver, just because it's got my favourite Sonic noise, because it's got the click when it turns on.
Absolutely,
the click when it turns, and I just have to do it for the. I'm just going to try and make sure the levels don't go crazy, but the click when I press the button. Oh, it's beautiful. Just that little, it's sweet as a nut, that noise. It's great. It's perfect. I love it.
Here's another thing. I could talk about this for such a long time. Okay, so when I was actually the around 2005, when I was in 6th form, I did double media. And one of the things was you could either make an animation, like a stop motion animation, or you could make a radio drama, an audio drama. And to quote, this is going into such detail. To quote the 1999, or maybe it was 2000, Big Finish Extra disc that you got on the with the Doctor Who magazine. There was a disc that said something like talking about my regeneration or something like on the front of it, maybe. And there was an interview with a lot of people that were talking about the fact that Big Finish is now doing licensed Doctor Who stories. But they also said we've been doing Benny Summerfield for years. We did all of these different things, and it's Nick Briggs that's doing all of them, all this kind of stuff. There was something in there. Oh, I might be getting it wrong now. There's something in there. Someone said that the set is much better on audio than it can ever be on TV, which is why Doctor Who on audio is going to work so well. And here's a voice from the future. Thank you, because it really does work so well.
I'm so excited to get into Big Finish, because this has just turned into like we're just chatting about the radiophonic workshop, and
I mean,
just the little sound effects, and
I've been obsessed. And the reason why, going back to bringing it back to the prop, I was so obsessed with the sonic screwdriver that I decided to make a Doctor Who audio drama with my mates at school. And I decided that the prop that I really want to have a good time making the sound effects of was the sonic screwdriver. This is just for school. I obviously didn't sell it or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I used all the sound effects from the various radiophonic CDs. I got loads of sonic screwdriver sound effects, but the sound effect that I really wanted was that click. And I made the click at home by getting loads of like tools and putting them together. Let's see if I can make something like, or oh no, whatever. But like I was trying to make all these clicking sound effects, and trying to, and because I really, in my mind, I wanted the sonic screwdriver to work. I wanted it to twist. I wanted it to function. All of those things, all of the sound effects. The sonic screwdriver is the thing. Over the years, I've been able to acquire various sonic screwdrivers. The one that really got me was the TV movie one, because it pops up and then you push it back in and twist it and locks. For years, I wanted that sonic screwdriver, and then someone was doing a run of them on the replica prop forum, and I got one, and you can twist it, it pops out, you can slam it back in there, twist it. Oh, it's beautiful. And then over the years, here's another story about the 2005 series. I'm in I was doing a show up in, I'm a man of many considerable vague talents. I just do lots of ridiculous things. So I was doing a show up at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and in 2005. And we were doing like 25 shows over 22 days or something like that. I was hot with Doctor Who energy. But it was the first time that I went anywhere by myself, pretty much, because we were living up there for like a month or month and a half. So I went up there, and I was constantly following the progression of Doctor Who into the world, and I was waiting for character options to bring out the sonic screwdriver, and it kept on being put back, or it wasn't necessarily like Twitter or Instagram now, where you have like up-to-date things happening. I had to read the Doctor Who magazine, and the picture of the sonic screwdriver, I was like, I want that, I need that. And I kept on going into the Forbidden Planet in Edinburgh and asking whether they were going to get the sonic screwdriver in, and they never did, because it wasn't going to come out then. It was going to come out at Christmas, the same with everything else. But I was just so desperate for that sonic screwdriver, like at that age, at that time. But I bought like a torch, because there was this little torch that was like a Batman torch or something like that, and I bought that because I wanted a sonic screwdriver so much. But I thought I wanted to buy something anyway. I've gone off such
it's fun.
A thing. It's the sonic screwdriver. It always has been. Recently, I commissioned someone to. This is the detail, and I'll end with this. Recently, I commissioned someone to make me the Dark Eyes sonic screwdriver, which is the Paul McGann big finish specialty.
Big crystal, like wooden bits on the side. It looks great, doesn't it?
I mean, I have to talk to you at some point. I mean, if anyone does want me to come back, then I would love to. But we have to talk
you're welcome back at any point. Yeah,
I would love to talk about the extended world of Doctor Who, the fact that it goes on and on and on. I became obsessed with the Dark Eyes stories. The fact that Paul McGann decided that he wanted a costume change, all of those things. I commissioned someone to make me that sonic screwdriver. Although recently, here's a random plug. I'm currently in the process of writing a book about the costumes of Doctor Who.
Right, that's interesting.
This is the first time I'm speaking to anyone about this, but it's something which is a passion of mine. So I recently got in contact with the guy who is the prop maker of the sonic screwdriver, because he and the guy who made the costume from Dark Eyes, they're from Weta Workshop, who did the effects for Lord of the Rings. So I got in contact with them, specifically the guy who made the Sonic, to speak about not just the Sonic, but the costume and the way that it all came together at that time, and why and how and who and when. So obsessed with it. I obsessed over it when I saw the sonic screwdriver on the set. I obsessed with sonic screwdriver all the time. Absolutely.
We're going to do last question, which two people asked a very similar question.
Okay.
I'm sorry if we didn't get round to your question, but as you can tell, we've got so much to cover.
I'm so sorry, everyone.
No, it's fine. Two people asked this question. So Luca B at Mulaka Luke, and also Cal at Generic Tweeting. Both asked a very similar question, which was, what Luca asked, what prop that you've created are you most proud of? And then Cal has asked, what prop do you actually think was the best that you helped worked on? So what is your crowning glory in terms of prop and costume, in terms of your work so far? And I'm going to say, this doesn't actually have to be Doctor Who. I imagine that it would be. But if you want to say something that's not Doctor Who, go ahead.
I mean, there's a lot of really cool things that we've done. And there's a lot of cool things that we're working on at the moment, that I'm so excited about. But I have to admit, the thing that really that comes to mind right at the beginning. So just quickly, a tiny little bit of story. So on Doctor Who, I was mainly in the mold shop until I got onto set, and then I was on set for a lot of things. There are so many people that work in these departments, so many people that have hands in on projects, that I didn't create one thing. And that's all my thing, because it's everyone.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
and also
it's so many people working on it.
Yeah, and obviously because I was just in the mold shop, I molded some things, I cast out some stuff. They went on to other people, and I started off fairly low at Millennium, but was given an opportunity due to, I hope that I was a person that they wanted to give an opportunity to. I think Kate loved the fact that I was a Doctor Who fan and thought that would be good. Also, I'd kind of worked with a lot of people on the Cybermen, and was there from the beginning. So I was accessible and ready to go and be in Cardiff at that particular time, and therefore stay on with all of the first shots that we did of the Cybermen were all the street scenes with the hundreds of Cybermen, and we knew that those Cybermen were going to be, people were going to come out in troves and try and take photos of them. So we did that one shot at the beginning, the shot, the press shot of Capaldi doing that and the Cybermen coming out of parts of the set.
Yes,
that was such a hoot. So because I'd done parts of the chest unit, I molded or cast out something to do with the helmet, maybe it was all assembled by Gary and Joe and a few other people, and Rocky as well, and Rocky is a model maker who's done stuff on like Red Dwarf and things like that. He works closely with Mike Tucker, so he was doing loads of those
Mike
incredible
Tucker, who last week got put in the corridor of fame.
Absolutely. Oh, what a genius! I love him. He's been someone that I've looked up to for such a long time, and was so happy to have a conversation with him at some point, saying that now I'm working in there. So it was lovely. Anyway, so there's loads of people there, but because Gary and I got on so well, and we were talking about how the Cybermen worked, and that I loved spare parts and all those kind of things. There was a day where we were doing all of the a lot of stunt things. So stunt stuff was happening. There were explosions, and Cybermen, stunt guys in cyber suits, were jumping on a trampoline, explosion in the background, jumping, flipping over, did these incredible things. And there was a moment where there was only, I think there was three of the Millennium creature crew that were, I'm so sorry, this is taking such a long time to get to.
It's fine, go for it.
From the creature crew that were dealing with three different Cybermen in three different locations, because three different, it was so tight. Things are being moved around. The script was changing. Stuff was happening, because this is just what TV is, and B, what Doctor Who is. C, I think they were like, let's do bigger, let's do this, let's do that, let's have more explosions, more this. Let's really have a great story. So after the massive explosion and all the big stuff that happens, and Capaldi's setting off all of the explosions and the sonic screwdriver and all that stuff that's happening in the forest, we end up in a clearing where there's like the destruction of the forest, and the Doctor's on the floor, what we think is dead, or whatever.
I know exactly the bit you mean. Yeah,
and there's the Cyberman. Spoiler alert! Close your ears if you haven't seen this episode. There's Cyberman Cyber Bill walking towards him, and Cyber Bill is partially grotty. In the script, it was supposed to be a big character reveal that it was like the suit, everything was shot to hell. There was, it was supposed to be gross. This, I think had been, I mean, maybe it wasn't even in the script. I think it was just on the day that was supposed to happen. But I think because things had been moved around, it wasn't highlighted as something that Millennium could have done something big on, because Millennium would have loved to have, ripped apart a suit and had a skeleton, or had parts of this, or oil or whatever it is. So it wasn't. I think on the day we were just told to, I got the sides, or I got the call sheet, and they just said destroyed Cyber Bill or something like that. And I spoke to, I can't remember who I was actually, who I was with, and I was like, we haven't got anything like this. And I rung up Millennium and said, we're supposed to be having this. Am I allowed to do something with the suits? Because it's supposed to be destroyed. And they said, I like something like that there was a crossed wire somewhere, maybe, I don't know, whatever happened, and there was something, things have been moved around, and it wasn't we hadn't got anything set up for the day. It wasn't in the script or something like that. I think it might have been thrown in there, I'm not sure. I said can I like do something with a suit, dirty it down, or whatever it is? And I think it was Kate at Millennium that just said, yeah, go for it. As long as production says that that's what they want, then do it. I had 10 minutes to do something with this Cyberbill suit to make it look like it had been in an explosion, like a literal explosion. Cybermen are in bits, dead on the. I don't know whether you've seen. If you look closely, there's literally pieces of Cyberman. There's helmets. There's stuff all over the floor, and this Cyberman is supposed to have like sustained damage, but it's still working. And I mean, it doesn't appear in the story as much as I would have liked to, but that's what the story is. But I'm quite glad also because it wasn't great. But from the props boys, I got loads of this dirty down spray. I got all of this fake soil and ash, and even like mud from the floor and grass, and like rubbed it all over the chest panel. Sprayed the suit, put loads of oil over everything, sprayed the mask, and just tried to spray as much as possible and dirty it down to a point that I thought what a Cyberman would potentially go through in some kind of blast or something like that. And for me, for the like the 10 minutes that I was allowed to do that, I looked at it and I thought, actually, I was quite pleased with that. And I looked at the pictures
because I mean it looks great from memory.
Yeah, like it's not anything specific. It's just a bit grubby. And I was like, I did that in 10 minutes with some dirty down spray and some mud, and I was really pleased with that. That's
what I love about this is like to me. And to so many other fans, and if you weren't involved in it, probably to you, it's a massive moment. It's a massive moment in the story. The Doctor is literally lying on the floor, dead, and it always sticks in my mind when I think about the Doctor Falls. It's that image of Capaldi on the floor and Cyberbill there, and it's seeing the fact that someone like you, a fan, being creative and having to improvise with 10 minutes with just a load of stuff cobbled together and actual dirt from the ground. And that's what that's another little jigsaw that went into that moment. That is so fascinating.
It's lovely. It was lovely. Yeah.
And it just standing in front, I can't even imagine what it would be like you said, being a fan growing up, and then you're stood there on set. Like, obviously, I imagine in the moment it was just, again, like work mode. But there must be moments where you look back now, more in fan mode, and be like, I was just grubbing up a Mondasian Cyberman. And that's just so cool.
It was an absolute dream come true. But also looking back at it, yes, it was. On the day, I was shit scared. I can't even tell you. Everyone was looking at me like, the director Rachel was like, "Okay, so you're going to be producing something this second now, are we?" Because she is a machine of a director.
She's a genius. She is a genius.
Incredible respect for her, but I also I was so scared because she is incredible, and because she's doing these moments, these huge moments, and I was like, I really hope that she loves it. And then she took a selfie with the Cyberman, so I was super happy with that.
That's a seal of approval there.
It really was, yeah. And the thing is that the other little thing is that all the Cybermen had. That all at like 8, 9, whatever it is, Cybermen had their names in the back of the masks. And over time, we started off the first day with, let's say, 10 Cybermen, I think it was. we started off the day with started off the shoot with 10 Cybermen, and throughout the shoot we really only mainly focused on Bill, and then there was a maximum 2 extra Cybermen that would come in that were for other shots. They mainly used Liam. Hi Liam, who was the main Cyberman, Cyber Bill. He was also like the main Cyberman in a lot of shots. However, Liam isn't the Cyberman, like the Cyberman in the story that is the main Cyberman and B Cyber Bill isn't the Cyberman in the promo images of all the Cybermen. And it's funny because that is Jamie Hill. Hey Jamie, who was one of the Ice Warriors and more well known as the Mummy from the Orient Express and the Silence. He's like 20 foot tall and incredible and just brilliant. And he was that Cyberman. He was supposed to be Cyber Bill, but due to other situations and other things, he couldn't do it. So Liam stepped in, who was also a tall boy as well. And he then became the main Cyberman. And it's funny because I can kind of tell who's who by their face shape.
Yeah, that's impressive.
It's very strange, and their gait and the way they walked, the way they held themselves. And I sat with Liam watching Cybermen, like clips of Cyberman stories on YouTube and stuff. I mean, like all the Mondasian stuff, all of those things, showing him loads of things. And I was saying, this is what Doctor Who was like then, and this is what you're trying to do. And he was like, oh shit, am I supposed to look like these like crazy dark creatures? And it's like, yeah, but you are that. And he was like, am I really? And I was like, yeah, you like, that is what you're doing. And he was like, so when I open my mouth, that's what's going to happen. I'm like, yeah, that's what's happening. He was like, oh, okay. And he kind of understood it, and then realized as the story got as he kind of went through the story, he was like, oh, I get it. Now I get it. That is where we're going with this. Anyway, so skipping back to what I was saying before, fan stuff, the piece that I really loved was probably that one. All I did was to spray it, rub some dirt in, but I guess because of what Gary Pollard and I had, and what he was telling me about how he imagined the suit, and his original sketch, that original maquette of the Cyberman, was covered in all these dirty downs and these oils and these rusts. I could kind of do that, an homage to that, and a
bit of a full circle, really. It went from that. Yeah. Oh, nice. Adric. That's beautiful. That's so cool. So we're very close to the end.
It's the end, but the moment I've been prepared for.
God, we're such nerds. So the last little thing that we need to cover is taking a little stroll down the corridor of fame.
Have you ever been limited by who you were before?
One day I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting
Dear Sarah Jane?
Do I have the right?
Some people's small, beautiful events is what life is all about.
Nursery compared to us. 10 million years of absolute power. That's what it takes to be really.
Every great decision creates ripples, like a huge boulder dropped in a lake.
But it was a childish dream that made you a doctor. You dreamt you could no more.
I'm not just the title. I'm the last of the title. It just disappears, doesn't it? Everything you are gone in a moment, like breath on a mirror.
I do what I do because it's right. Because it's decent. And above all, it's kind.
Love abides in the face of everything.
What a lovely corridor it is as well.
It's a beautiful corridor, and there's some wonderful people in it. So, as you all know, if you've listened before, it's a Hall of Fame. We've got some amazing people in there already. All of the doctors, of course, they're in there automatically, and then you get your your Liz Sladens, your John Barrowmans, your William Russells, your Graham Harpers, your Mike Tuckers, your Delia Derbyshires. We've got all of them people in there. So who's going to be joining them?
Well,
That's
first of all, I just want to say for the viewers, the corridor of fame is a kind of grey. It's almost a pinkish grey, and it's lovely and rosy and warm. And I'm strolling down here, and I think today of all days, because of the thing that I've been working on myself, the this book concept that's probably going to take like 4 years to make. I've been doing a lot of research, but there's one story that I have loved. And I think is so. This is. I'll be interested to see what your readers, what your viewers, what your listeners will think of this. This contentious. I don't know. Interesting. Yes, I think it's an imperative piece of information that people need to know. That. What am I saying? Where am I going with this? Oh, okay. So I'm going to put into the corridor of fame an incredible young lady who was given some wool by the costume head of costume for Doctor Who, and she decided that what she's going to do with this wool is to knit the longest and most iconic scarf in film and TV industry, Begonia Pope.
Oh, that is a perfect pick.
Now,
just remind me of her name again, sorry, because she's got a fantastic name.
Begonia Pope. Yeah, so the witty little knitter herself, aka Madame Nostradamus. The story goes that James Acheson, he decided to give her all of this wool, just loads of colours of wool, and just said, make a scarf. And Tom Baker says that when they went to her house, they couldn't open the door because it was so big. And so he likes to tell loads of stories about Begonia Pope. And what an incredible name. She, unbeknownst to her, created the most iconic piece of costume in Doctor Who history, I think, but also
possibly in British culture.
Absolutely. When someone wears a scarf that's multicolored, it's a Doctor Who scarf. People say to the doctors, I'm just going to crash in here with like a name drop as awful as it's going to be. When I was. Oh God, where am I going with this? So I love to host Norcon, and I've been asked to host Norcon for a couple of years, the Norwich Sci-Fi Convention,
which is what I knew you from. But before I knew you for that, before I knew
crazy.
you for effects, because I live in Norwich, so it's my local convention, and I went a couple of years ago, and you were hosting,
which is so bizarre.
So I watched you interviewing. Like Peter Davison, and obviously got name drops. So go ahead.
The fact is just the whole Norcon thing. But what a lot of people have said, I don't think it was that year. I think it was a couple of years before. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Sylvester McCoy that said that still so many people say, "Oh, where's your scarf?" And it's like, even though Sylvester McCoy has like the question mark umbrella, Colin Baker has like the entire costume. Pete Davison has, celery and cricket things. All of them get asked, "Where's your scarf, mate?" And it's Tom Baker. It is Tom Baker. Obviously, massive shout out to everyone who has ever created costumes in Doctor Who, because every time you do it, you create something new. The fact that John Pertwee rocked up with his I think it's either his dad's or his granddad's shirt and his cloak or something like that, and said, "I want to do this kind of thing." The fact that all of that happens is absolutely true, but that the Tom Baker's costume would not be the same costume if it wasn't for the scarf. And that scarf became a character. It became a centerpiece for the console. It became a centerpiece of Doctor Who. Like, it is... an incredible piece, and yet again I coveted it for years. I got my nan to knit me Doctor Who scarves, and it wasn't until I had enough disposable income myself that I have over the years began to try to I tried to have them all, and I'm very lucky to say that I've got the season 12, the season 13, I think 17 and 18 now, and I love all of them with all of my heart. Begonia Pope has to go in there. She unknowingly is an icon, a legend. She is the moment.
I don't know a lot about her, and I imagine a lot of other people don't know a lot about her.
I don't think anyone. I don't think anyone knows
and
anything
I
about
really
her.
want to find out more about her. So I'm going to now. And I hope that on Twitter after this episode goes out, we can all have a chat about the amazing Begonia Pope, who just all of the other people on this list, they knew what they were doing. She didn't even know that this was going to happen.
No idea.
She had no idea.
And well, this is the reason why I want to do all these interviews, and I want to get some information for my book. Clang. It's such a. I'm doing a lot of self promotion at the moment. I'm trying to do so much research about this because it's that story which is really fascinating. The fact that it all comes from that picture. It all comes from the ambassador's picture. Is it ambassadors? It's like a Bohemian image. I think it's a Lautrec. A Lautrec picture, maybe. I think it's the guy with the gigantic hat and the red scarf tossed over his shoulder. It's a French painting. That was like the image of Bohemian. So cool. And the fact that they went from three, you had William Hartnell being this this kind of Victorian-esque turn of the century gentleman. You then went to this kind of the cosmic hobo kind of situation, a bit raggedy, but a bit kind of I don't know. I can't quite just describe it, but like with a bow tie that's clipped on with a little safety pin. You then got this incredible velvets and frills. Well, where do you go from there? Well, you do exactly what they did. You keep this Victorian, slightly Georgian, slightly Victorian gentleman, but then put a bohemian twist on it, which was so in vogue at the time. And then you put on this scarf, which, I mean, a happy accident. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
And the fact that
from the holiday special, by the way, because the tiebreaker question, which we covered in the holiday special, was how long is Tom Baker's scarf? I can't remember the exact length, but I remember that it is 7 meters something.
Yeah.
It's a 7 meter long scarf.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
And they get progressively longer as the time goes on. The season 17, they sew together the original season 12 scarf and the stunt double scarf to make a gigantic scarf. It then stretches.
If he'd have stayed on, he'd have just been drowning, completely drowning in scarf.
I mean that season 18 costume is beautiful, and he kind of is drowning because the chenille.
It's just
he's kind of cocooned himself.
Him.
Yeah, I love it.
Well,
Begonia Pope, a queen amongst us peasants. She didn't know that she was. She created
beautiful unsung hero as well.
Yeah,
just an unsung hero. I'm so happy she's in. Now we're going to wrap it up there. It has been so fun to chat to you. This has been absolutely brilliant. Just before we go, in a sentence, I ask this to everybody. In a sentence, what does who mean to you?
In one sentence, I've tried to be prepared as much as possible for this, but this is the thing that is most difficult, because it genuinely means everything to me. It is it's the thing which has put me on my path. It's the thing which has given me in one sentence. I can't do this.
That's fine. Just say what you want.
Adventure.
In one sentence is loose.
It's the thing which has given me a sense of humor, the sense of adventure, the sense of family, the sense of fun. It has given me so many of those things, and it's always the question that comes to your head when you come up against something different, bizarre, untoward, or even fairly normal. What would the Doctor do? And that's what Doctor Who means to me, is the fact that that's the first question that comes into my head.
And it's the same for me. That's a beautiful closing statement.
And one little moment. The first thing that I did when I was shit scared, so scared, going into the BBC, going into the BBC to on that first day of Doctor Who. What I thought, I can't let myself look so scared. I'm also so happy, so excited as well, but I was just bubbling with like, whoa, what am I going to do? And the first thing that I thought about was in Silver Nemesis, when Sylvester McCoy with the Seventh Doctor and Ace walk into Windsor Castle, and she's like, I'm not quite sure we're supposed to be in here, Doctor. And he's like, Professor, and he's like, oh, just walk around like you own the place. And it's like, okay, I mean, it's problematic to say stuff like that, but it's just walk around like you own the place, like whatever. And that's the thing that I thought about. What would the Doctor do in this situation? That's what it means to me.
Bless. Well, just before we go, that was great. Just before we go, plug away. Plug, self-promote as much as you like.
Oh gosh,
whatever you're doing, whatever's happening.
I can't legally, contractually, I can't tell people what I'm working on at this specific moment, and neither can I show anyone, particularly on my Instagram or Twitter or anything like that. But if you want to follow my nonsense, it's just pictures of my cat and various bits of Doctor Who. Then please, my Twitter and Instagram is at Jimmy Mann Fx, F and X. My brother and I made a Doctor Who based podcast. Nothing like this one though, so don't worry, we're not stepping on your toes.
Oh, exciting.
But we made a podcast. It's about 6 episodes long. My brother and I love LOVE, The Master. We are massive fans of The Master, and many years ago we said we should just write some silly mastery things. So we wrote and my brother's a voiceover artist and presenter. So we wrote this. Oh my God, there's so much to talk about. Oh no, I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. Go.
Okay, so very quickly, many years ago, it was before the new series started. My brother and I made a stupid video of in our garden. I was the Doctor, he was the Master. I fell from some scaffolding. The Master did it, ha ha ha. I then regenerated into Mick Jagger, and it was called Doctor Who: The Area of Death. It's on YouTube somewhere, but I don't know, whatever it is. But since then, we found it hilarious that that my brother was the Master, and my brother for quite a lot of the time is he does a lot of panto, and he's always the villain in panto as well. So we decided to do the Master Diaries, which is available on Apple Podcast and all that kind of stuff. It's just a little 6-episode nonsense of
that sounds great. I'm going to check this out.
Please do. It was just a bit of fun that we did a couple of years ago, and just thought it was so amusing. Master Diaries is also on Instagram. And you could just it's little silly funny things, and at some point we'll probably do some more, but or whatever.
Amazing.
But yeah, come and say hello. And honestly, I love talking about Doctor. I love talking about effects and stuff. And hopefully at some point, we'll be able to go to events again and things, and hopefully more will happen. And there's
chat and meet up and see humans.
Oh my!
What a concept!
Seeing people interacting, socializing in person.
Yes.
It's an idea.
Well, and just to plug the pod, obviously, this is Who Knew, a Doctor Who podcast.
Who knew? Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew that? Now?
You can find us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at Josh Ryan Carr. And we're on Instagram. I'm still behind on the Instagram. I'm going to spam probably this weekend, and I'm really sorry to everybody if I've spammed your timelines with loads of graphics. But that's Who Knew DWPod, and you can email us at whoknewdwpod@gmail.com. That's in the bio and it's in the description and all that if you need it. But thank you, Jimmy. It's been a pleasure.
You. An absolute pleasure.
Yes, and thank you all at home. Have a wonderful, 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 wonderful time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Who Knew, a Doctor Who podcast. Remember to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts for new episodes every week. And if you can leave us a review, it would really help us out. And a big thank you to the Sononauts for providing cover of the Doctor Who theme as the theme tune for the podcast.